Hey guys, so welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. Let's carry on where we left off. Sorry for the delay in getting the episode out. My poor hard drive went kaput, but now it's time for Twisted Karma and his last bow.
Holmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said.
Whoa.
Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement.
A bunch of ginger people
A
appeared.
hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder. An executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night.
Okay, here we go. I've posited a theory about this.
Commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most remain ignorant. And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow.
Well, well.
For our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
He dropped the line. Now, in terms of my theory, I posted it on Discord about what I think is going to happen in the coming chapters ahead. I thought about... 8 days after that earth-shattering trial and Kazuma regaining his memory. Before we go into that, I was putting it out there in the universe that, first off, I'll either look like a complete genius or just a complete idiot for coming up with this theory. I was thinking perhaps we're going to get another case later on where we're looking to actually clear Kazuma's father's name, and we're going to go back to his death all those years ago where he rose from the grave and got shot. Because that's such a loose end, right? Like, who shot this guy? Why? And what's the whole thing about the professor and how his death was faked and Van Zeek's brother? Like, surely there's more to it than just what we've seen so far. And I was thinking it's going to be kind of similar to maybe the DL6 incident in the original Ace Attorney, where probably Van Zeek's will be called out for being the one who shot the professor when he rose from his grave, and we're going to have to try and defend him. And it's going to turn out Lord Strongheart was involved or something of the sort. And we're probably going to get Toby from Inspector Lestrade now to go sniff out the bullet in his arm or something of the sort. Obviously, I don't think it's going to go that far, but still, who knows what's going to come up. I'm sure it's not the last we've heard, however, of the professor, so let's find out. We were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel. Wow, this is fancy. Holy shit. 1st November, 10:24 a.m. Great Waterloo Hotel foyer. Professor Mikatoba is due to arrive at any moment. Oh, really? Is he coming here too? That's right, he is. He said he'd catch a ship a little later than Susato would. Yes, I'm so glad we got here in time. What's up? Susato-san hasn't been the same since what happened. Not that I'm surprised. The truth about Kazuma-sama's father. Huh? Do you suppose my father knew? I think so. I mean, he had a copy of The Hound of the Baskervilles, no? And he was adamant that you didn't read it. In fact, a lot of people are. So I'm curious what Mikatoba's involvement is. I mean, I know he had to have been friends with Kazuma's father, right? Because he had to make a promise. That he was actually the mass murderer. The professor, you mean? I knew that's what she was thinking about. There's a good chance, I'd say. I mean, they did come here to London together 16 years ago, didn't they? Yes, that's true. Come to think of it, didn't you say that Professor Mikatoba knew about Kazuma going missing in Hong Kong as well? That's right, but for some reason he wasn't at liberty to talk to me about it. That probably means he knows then. About Kazuma showing up here in London with amnesia, and that he's regained his memory now. Mikatoba's got his fingers in all the pies. Honestly, it's kinda sus. Ah, there she is. Oh my god. Oh, Father. The judge is here too. Goodness me. Hello, Susato. How are you? I've completely forgotten the voice I'd given him.
I'm very well, thank you. We're delighted you arrived safe and sound.
You guys are looking dandy. Hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Very kind of you to take the trouble to meet us here.
Oh no, not at all. It's my pleasure.
I've heard all about your extraordinary exploits here in London, you know. The news has crossed the seas. It has? I always look forward to reading the monthly reports that arrive with the steamships from Britain.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you very much. Who is this man? And why do I feel as though I've seen him before?
I take it from your expression that you can't quite place me. In that case, how about a little reminder, Seishiro? A firm tap should do it. Yes, where's my gavel?
A firm tap? What?
Here we go then. I hereby pronounce the defendant Ryunosuke Naruhodo guilty!
Ah! Oh! You're that guy.
Well, it's been a hot minute. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Did you meet my cousin? Your Excellency! Hello, Judge Jigoku. How are you? It's been a long time.
Good, you've remembered now. That really did the trick. Guilty! Jeez, do you take a sick pleasure in declaring people guilty, Jigoku? Only I was declared not guilty, wasn't I? There was no laughing at the time. So, London again after all this time. Hard to believe it's been 10 years. To be honest, I never thought I'd be back. Neither did I. I didn't imagine Japan would ever be invited to an international symposium like this. Though really, I doubt anyone did, to be honest. It's all thanks to you, isn't it, Seishiro? What are you talking about, Eugene? Of course, Judge Jigoku. You must complete the set. He's the other man who 16 years ago came to London with Kazuma's father and Professor Mikatoba. He's the third visiting scholar. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a long time. I must say I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous.
Sorry, ministerial status?
Yes, didn't you know? Seishiro here is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. It was his personal insistence that allowed you to take Kazuma's place here on this study tour. Guilty as charged! Oh, my sides, they hurt from all the laughing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. He's really every bit as important as he looks.
Ah, yes, now, Mr. Naruhodo. No, not Mr. Naruhodo, just Naruhodo. I received a telegram from Lord Strongheart yesterday.
Oh, you did?
It appears that some things came to light in a trial you were involved with 8 days ago. About what happened 10 years ago. That tragedy. Yes, we learned quite a bit about your past, didn't we? Not just yours, but Van Zeke's as well.
Yes. Could you tell us any more about it?
Well, that's what the converse button is for, of course. Actually, you know what? Before I do so, guys, I kept this all this time.
Professor Mikatoba, I wonder, could I show you something?
Why do you seem so nervous?
I suppose because I'm a student showing something to a professor.
That's always quite nerve-wracking. Well, I'm sorry I perturb you in that way, but anyway, I'm afraid I have nothing useful to say about that. Really, I'm just a doctor. Thanks. Okay, well, in that case, your journey from Japan, how was it?
So, how was the voyage here?
Well, 50 days at sea is a long time by anyone's standards, and no one died aboard the ship, so that's a good thing. But it wasn't as bad as when we first came 16 years ago. No, that's true. And I truly wondered if we wouldn't be drifting in the vast ocean for the rest of our lives. This time we followed the same route as you, so we were able to relax and enjoy the experience. It was not the same route as me, okay? I suffered quite a bit. I was stuffed in a closet as well, so it felt like it took longer.
Ah, so you stopped in France's beautiful capital, Paris?
We did, yes, though only for one night. And yesterday evening, we left the port of Dunkirk for Dover. Just in time for the symposium, in fact. It starts tomorrow.
It's wonderful that you were invited to attend such an important international event. I'm very proud of you, Father.
As long as none of you die, please. I don't want some sort of conspiracy to lead to one of yours deaths. It's thanks to Seishiro here. 16 years ago, he managed to ingratiate himself with Britain's Attorney General. I'm sure that's why he was invited, and I suppose you could say I'm something of an appendage by default. Speak for yourself, Eugen. You were close friends with a professor of forensic science at a major hospital. Yes, well, I'd rather not dredge all that up, really. No, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, but it doesn't bring him back.
Cosmo's father, I suppose.
Well, speaking of the devil, almost quite literally, the professor, the killer who took the lives of 5 members of the British aristocracy, was actually Cosmo's father, wasn't he? That's correct. Genshin Asogi.
Genshin? Like Genshin Impact? That's ruined a lot of lives too. You knew, I presume, Father?
Yes. He was a close friend at the time. Genshin came to Britain as a police detective. He was studying investigative techniques at Scotland Yard.
Really? A cop, huh? Interesting.
I've never understood what drove the man to commit such heinous acts.
Probably because he didn't commit them.
It was a closed trial, so the public never knew the truth. And he was executed with little ado. To this day, very few people know what really happened, even in our homeland.
But what about Cosmo? Did he know? Did he know the truth about his father?
Well, he did slice his father in half. It was quite the bisection. And, yeah. It was with contempt, I think. No, of course not. He was told his father passed from sickness. However, I suspect he may have had his doubts.
Oh, why?
As you know, I tried to guide Cosmo growing up, as if he were my own son. Then one day, he came to my office at the university and said,
I've decided. I want to travel to Great Britain and study there. Do you think he wanted to come here to investigate his father's death?
I don't know. But when I looked into his eyes, I did know that there was no way I'd be able to stop him. And then he died en route, supposedly.
Something else came to light in that trial the other day, actually.
Oh? What?
Well, having disappeared in Hong Kong and been missing for almost a year, Cosmo has since turned up here in London, working as the apprentice of Lord Van Zeeks.
What? What? That's news to us!
Well, yeah, you guys have been at sea. You wouldn't have known. So, Lord Strongheart's playing his cards close to his chest, is he? Lord Strongheart's telegram neglected to mention that part then. Interesting. Why? Cosmo's reappearance. As you know, we both thought Cosmo had died on the steamship during our voyage to Great Britain in January. But he didn't die. He's alive. As you knew, didn't you, Father?
In actual fact, no. What I did know is that when your ship docked in Hong Kong, he mysteriously vanished. We sent a team of investigators to Hong Kong to try to ascertain what had happened, but to no avail.
But he's still alive, and here in London, you say? I never dared even to dream it.
Why on earth did the young man not make contact? The government and the police should have been chasing clues fruitlessly for months now.
He's not laughing anymore. Well, it seems that he was suffering from amnesia.
What? Amnesia?
That old plot point trope? When we first came across him here in London, he didn't know who either of us were.
I see.
He only regained his memory 8 days ago.
This is unbelievable.
Yes, it's quite miraculous. I wonder why Lord Strongheart didn't let us know. I must speak with him urgently. Okay, as long as you stay alive, please. I wonder how Cosmo's been this past few days. Would it be wrong of us to go and visit him? Where is he staying? Is he still with Van Zeeks? Your time in Britain. That began 16 years ago now. It's a distant memory, really. It was Eugen here, Genshin Osogi, and myself. We were the original three. The first judicial scholars from Japan to travel overseas to study. Ocean voyages were not what they are today, I can tell you. 16 years ago. Things were tough for their generation. Your father was an exceptionally fine medical student at Yume University at the time, you know, young lady?
Yes, grandmother told me because my father wasn't around to fucking watch me grow up. I didn't know from his own mouth.
You went to do research at a great London hospital to study autopsy. Practically unheard of in Japan.
Yes, it was an eerie place sandwiched between the back of a prison and a burial ground. Oh, really? Ugh, not more talk of graves.
Very often. There's no one willing to deal with bodies following autopsy work.
So you see, autopsy labs have something of an unavoidable relationship with graveyards and prisons. Not my cup of tea at all, as a matter of fact. Do you remember that Scottish prison governor?
Caden, his name was. He was a good man. Yes, but then of course, in our 6th year here, everything changed with that dreadful case. When Genshin was arrested for a series of the most gruesome murders.
I simply couldn't believe it. I'd known the man for years.
I was a witness at the secret hearing, and I tried to speak in his defense, but
you went a little too far and ended up facing charges yourself, didn't you? Oh, perjury, was it?
Well, suffice to say that after that trial we were sent back to Japan.
There was nothing more we could do to save Genshin. He was a lost cause, sadly. Oh dear. Got Susato in tears, damn it! Well, if you'll excuse us now, I'd like to sleep.
Yes, I'd like to get this trunk up to my room as soon as possible.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have held you up here for so long. I shouldn't have showed you my armband, which you didn't care about. I'll call for the porter then. Just wait here. Did she just run off? Susato-san's gone off at a run. I'd like to stay and talk more, but I do have various preparations to make for tomorrow. Yes, of course. It must be a big responsibility representing our entire country. I wish you the best of luck. Naruhodo, I hope you'll keep an eye on Susato for me. Keep looking after her as you obviously have been. Well, she looks after me just as much, except for when she takes me down. I mean by Susato takedown, not anything else. Oh no, I mean, if anyone's looking after anyone, it's her looking after me. Well, I do appreciate you being there for her. After all, I've been a miserable father to her. I've thoroughly let her down. Oh, Mikatoba, damn it, I was just joking before, okay, about how you weren't there for, like, her first 6 years of life. I'm sorry? What do you mean? Well, it was 16 years ago that I started my long study tour here in Britain, as you know. The very year Susato was born. Yes, I heard. The birth of my daughter was the most joyous event of my life, but... well... sadly, it was accompanied by the most tragic event of my life, too. Oh, yes. Susato-san hinted at something like that. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. I might send up a death flag. The point is, I became rather less dependable than befits a grown man. And it was then that Seishiro offered me the opportunity to study here in Great Britain. I was too worried about you to leave you behind. So perhaps I was a little heavy-handed when it came to persuading you to accompany me to London. So that's what happened in a nutshell. And that's also the reason why I now feel compelled to give my daughter as many opportunities as I dare. Though the world does not readily afford young women such things, I must say. I completely understand, Professor. Do you? One other thing, Naruhodo. If I may be so bold, I have a favor to ask you. Oh, really? Of course. What can I do for you? Well, the thing is, I'm so sorry that it took so long. Miss Susato, you were a juror once, weren't you? What's with the camera? Now then, allow us to take your bags. Allow me to take your bags. One moment, if you please, Porter. Oh, of course, sir. That machine around your neck. It's a camera, I believe.
Quite right, sir. It's just 5 shillings for a lovely photograph to commemorate a wonderful stay at the hotel, sir. Well, I think given the occasion, we could justify the expense. Oh, yes, of course. Sure. Oh, why do I always have to look so nervous? Susato looks good. Everyone looks good, apart from me.
I'd like to thank you for coming with me, Mr. Naruhodo. It's really made Father very happy, I think.
Oh, well, I'm pleased then. But we were interrupted before. Professor Mikatoba was about to ask me something. That's twice now. Like, we're about to learn why Kazuma wanted to come to Britain, but then he obviously never got the chance to because he died. I hope that's not going to happen with Mikatoba. For some reason, I got the sinking feeling that he might be a victim, or, you know, I shouldn't say hopefully. Hopefully he's just the defendant, in which case I can defend him and protect him.
So we return to Baker Street then? I expect Iris will have some delicious tea waiting for us.
Yes, let's go. I'm getting more and more anxious about Kazuma, though. Perhaps I'll try to meet with Lord Strongheart later and ask after him. Alright, shall we examine this place, though? There's plenty to look at, I'm sure. Look at those cases just left there on that trolley. Aren't they worried about thieves? I know I am.
Haven't you seen the porter over there? Don't worry, he's obviously keeping an eye on everything.
So it's a trap, designed to catch any chancers who might be tempted. I promise I'm not conspiring to steal those luggage. Why did the porter give me such a scathing look just now, do you suppose?
Well, some might say you look a little suspicious with your jet black clothes.
Not everyone clad in black is some sort of ninja with intent to steal, you know. I mean, I do look nervous as well, that doesn't help. Who's that guy?
That desk is known as the hotel reception. Anyone wanting to spend the night has to report there to sign in for their stay.
Oh, so do you think that's the head clerk behind the desk there?
Yes, I'm sure it must be.
Love to stay in a grand hotel like this for a little while, wouldn't you? Just to know what it's like.
If the hotel fee was paid through our stipend, I'm afraid it might bankrupt our homeland.
True. London gives the word expensive a whole new meaning. But these two, Mikatoba and Seishiro, get to stay here. Anything else to look at? We can look at the chandeliers. Have you seen all those sparkling jewels up there? They must have gathered every gem in the world for that.
It's called a chandelier, I believe. Or is it chandelier? It's designed to provide elegant lighting in large, spacious rooms like this.
So, they had to gather every gem in the world just to illuminate one room?
It's probably electric light bulbs that are actually throwing the light.
If I tried to hang something like that from the ceiling in the office, it would be scraping on the floor.
I think perhaps chandeliers aren't for you, Mr. Naruhodo.
No, they're not for me either. God, they're hard to clean. And they're just, like, really... I wouldn't say tacky, but damn, they really stick out. We got a picture of the tower here. Look at that, it's the picture of the Crystal Tower.
Well, the Great Exhibition is one of Britain's most prestigious achievements in recent years. I wonder how tall it is. It really does represent the pinnacle of scientific achievement in so many ways.
There's a 20-meter tall chimney on the bathhouse near my lodgings at Yume University. The attendant there is always boasting that it's the tallest object in the neighborhood.
I'm sure. Did you know that over the channel in Paris, there's a tower that's 300 meters tall?
What? How many times taller than the chimney at Yume Soken Hot Springs is that? And if it's that tall, how does it draw properly? The smoke would get stuck, surely.
I don't think it's that sort of tower, Mr. Naruhodo.
I see. Okay. Well, I think we've seen all there is to see here. Let's get a move on. I'm feeling poor right now. Move to... We've got quite a few places we can go. We can go to Lord Chief Justice's office. I'm quite keen to do so. The question is, are we early? No, we're not. We're right on time. 1st November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Here's the final draft of the opening address for tomorrow's proceedings. I supplemented your original with the figures you asked for from the yard. I see. Excellent work, thank you. You're welcome, my lord. What's Lord Van Zeek's doing here? I don't know. He's a prosecutor, reporting to the chief prosecutor. That makes sense to me. Why, there seems to be an awful lot of tension in the air, wouldn't you say? I mean, these are two strong personalities conversing. This place is stifling enough as it is. We really don't need any more tension. Uh-oh. They've seen me. My apologies. I didn't notice you come in. Your small stature and dark dress make you all but invisible to me. Thanks. What a great compliment. Oh, no, it's entirely my fault for wearing black, I'm sure. It's just my uniform. From now on, you must dress in white from head to toe whenever you come here. Did you notice Susato? She's not in black. But she is short. Now then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I'm right here. Still here, even though I'm still dressed in black. Ugh, kill me now. He either talks a lot or doesn't talk at all. Is something wrong? Perhaps it's a little too hot in here for you. Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I've never experienced a room at such a perfect temperature, you know? If you're sure. The beads of sweat carving their way down your face seem to suggest otherwise. Because of the daggers you're staring at me with, mainly. As you're no doubt aware, my International Forensic Science Symposium begins tomorrow. In fact, your father arrived in London earlier today, I hear, madam.
Oh, yes, that's right, my lord. He's extremely honored to have been invited, though he's a bit pissed off that you didn't say anything about Kazuma.
I'll leave the remaining preparations for the meeting room in your capable hands then, Lord Van Zeeks. I will attend at once.
Don't you look at me like that? God. He gave you a very cold stare as he left, didn't he?
Yeah, I feel like he's still not considering me a proper friend, he just says that.
I know, but I haven't done anything. Have I?
These past few days, my feet have barely touched the ground, I must say. My dedicated right hand of many years was recently put out of action in spectacular fashion.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is your left hand still of service?
Mr. Naruhodo, he's talking about Dr. Scythe.
Ah, of course. I'm sorry to hear that as well. I'm sorry I did that. I'm terribly sorry about that. I was just,
Fear not. You've done nothing wrong. Dr. Scythe's own wrongdoing precipitated the situation. You needn't concern yourself with it any further. I've taken care of it. She'll be dead by morning.
Oh god. That would be a lot easier to do if it weren't for the piercing stare you're giving me.
Lord Van Zeeks is doing an admirable job of holding the fort. Though disturbingly, his apprentice has been missing since yesterday.
Oh? Missing? What's become of Kazuma-sama now? So, like a week later from regaining his memories? Interesting. Do you care about my armband? Could I show you this, Lord Strongheart?
Nope. I'm the Lord Chief Justice. I'm not here to offer advice about evidence.
Oh.
Especially when the evidence in question is so dull.
It's not evidence. So that's the real reason. Of course. Okay, well, let's converse. The Forensic Science Symposium.
Not long ago, visitors' numbers to the Great Exhibition exceeded 30 million.
30 million? Are there even that many people in the world? As a comparison, Mr. Naruhodo, the population of the imperial capital Tokyo is 2 million. So 15 times that number.
I'll be opening the International Forensic Science Symposium in the exhibition's main auditorium. This event has been 2 years in the making. 2 years of preparations and negotiations with other countries.
Sounds like a tremendous achievement. Congratulations.
The 20th century will see the wholesale adoption of forensic investigation techniques, and cooperation between policing organizations around the globe will be essential. Which is why this landmark first symposium had to be hosted here at the heart of our great British Empire. in order that Scotland Yard can become the leading investigative organization in the New World.
He's the same as ever, I see. That passion of his is quite something. You're every bit as passionate in your own way. I'm sure, Mr. Naruhodo. Stop reading my mind, Susato. They're private thoughts.
I'm the only person in this country who truly cares about a future that embraces forensic science. It was my intention to become Her Majesty's Attorney General and reform the Yard from the ground up. So the disgrace of the forensic investigation team has been a bitter blow to my ambitions.
Well, I mean, he doesn't seem too salty about it, which is kind of good, but it kind of makes me nervous. The forensic investigation team. The FIT.
I first established the forensic investigation team a year ago, experimentally, to start with. With Dr. Scythe at the helm, it was steadily accruing an impressive record of achievement. I was on the verge of changing its name and elevating its status to a full-blown forensic investigation department.
And, can you not do that now? Jeez, way to rub salt in the wound.
Obviously, nobody wants to hear anything about it at the moment. Even I can't keep the story out of the papers. 6 million Londoners will be cursing forensic science now. This incident will set back our country's advancement in the field by a good 10 years, I'd say.
Unintended repercussions of our trial. We simply couldn't have overlooked what had happened, though.
Of course not. We should all be grateful to you both.
Can't tell if he's being truthful about that.
Anyway, I'll still reform this country's policing when I become Attorney General. This might delay my plans, but it won't alter them. Nothing will stand in my way. In the prosecution department, there are no KOs. I will keep coming back.
The missing apprentice. What's up with Cosmo? About Lord Van Zeeks' apprentice?
Ah, yes, that came as a surprise to me, I must say. That you and he are old friends.
We traveled together on the same boat, didn't we? How did he become an apprentice to Lord Van Zeeks in the first place?
It came about 3 months ago. An unidentified Asian man was apprehended by border police. They found him hiding aboard a large goods vessel.
Oh my. So he stowed away to get here?
He had no papers to identify him, no passport, and he was suffering from amnesia too. So it only made sense that I assigned him to become a prosecutor's assistant with Van Zeeks. Other than the fact that he was clearly of Eastern descent, there were no clues as to who he was. So I decided to assign him to Lord Van Zeeks. That way I could keep an eye on him. Or you could have just put him in prison, or deported him. There's so many things you could have done with him. That's not putting him with Van Zeeks.
But then, why the mask?
I didn't want to burden Lord Van Zeeks with tiresome explanations about why he had an Eastern apprentice.
Because it would be so much easier to explain why he was wearing a mask.
He's proving to be a great help to Lord Van Zeeks. I have high hopes for his future.
By the way, do you know where he's gone?
No idea. But I believe he's left London for the time being.
But he's going to be a great assistant in the future for Lord Van Zeeks.
Oh. I take it you also didn't know that the man's father was one of our country's most infamous criminals, I mean.
Ryunosuke. Cosmo's father's crimes. What we learned from that trial 8 days ago was a huge shock. Finding out my friend's father was...
Ah, yes. Ryunosuke. The professor case 10 years ago caused a great stir here in Britain.
They were such awful murders, and unprecedented. Using a ferocious dog as a murder weapon. That's why it's called the Hand of the Baskervilles. I see.
And no one would have believed the culprit was a foreign student invited to study here by the government. So the true identity of the killer couldn't be made public then, and can't be made public now. Nobody in your country knows it was him, and neither do the citizens of London.
The main motivation was to avoid aggravating relations between our two nations at the time, I understand.
Correct. However, it has to be noted that there were some supporters of the professor's apparent cause.
What?
Supporters of a mass murderer?
Cause? What do you mean?
The majority of the man's victims were a blight on the aristocracy of the day. Somewhat ironically, their deaths actually benefited society as a whole.
Sounds like someone who wants to take credit for the murders, but can't, because he'll be imprisoned. Strongheart.
Or so a fair few thinkers in London believed anyway.
Right. I see. But it was still murder, wasn't it? It seems very similar, doesn't it? To the idea of the Reaper of the Bailey. Huh?
Oh, well, we're not here to talk about the Reaper of the Bailey.
Thank you, Lord Strongheart, for your time. I'm gonna have some tea now.
Thanks to Iris. Adios.
Back here.
1st November. Sholmes' suite. Why is there a conspicuous mask on the coffee table? Sorry, coffee table? It's a trunk. What? What was that?
A man screaming in a most unflattering way. Do you think... Could it have been Mr. Sholmes? Oh my, I do hope not.
I don't do it anymore. Mon ami, mon ami. Stop this disgraceful displayer. Who are these people? Look at their hair. It's bright red. It's the gingers from the intro cutscene.
I think they must be clients of Mr. Sholmes.
I wouldn't even call it gingers. It's like bright scarlet.
Right, you two. You're coming with me now, down to the clink.
No, not in prison. It is dark and damp, and I do not like it. Buff, the darkness, it is my friend. I am not scared. But you are always scared of the dark. Shut your mouth, you idiot. I will sit quietly in the dark and plan our next daring heist. I don't like this, I don't like it.
Well, tough. We'll finish this down in the yard. Now get moving. Bye then, Ginny. Have fun. Oh yeah, thanks, Iris. And thanks. You're a great detective.
Sholmes is here?
Gina makes a fine detective herself, doesn't she? Hey, Susie and Reno.
Hello, Iris. We're home. It was quite the welcome back.
Well, did you find your daddy?
What? Oh, sorry. Yes, you're talking to Susato.
Yes, we arrived at the hotel just before he and his friend. Oh, well that's great news. I hope I'll get to see my daddy again soon. Yes, of course.
Dr. John H. Wilson. So, Iris, all that remains now is that greatest of problems known to man. Holy shit! But before we concern ourselves with that, I believe some tea is in order, don't you, my dear fellows? Who are you? Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Do I have a crumb or such like on my face? Not so much on your face as on your head, I'd say.
Come along then, everyone. I've brewed a lovely special blend. Time for tea.
Now I see what the mask's for, so I can hide your identity, Sholmes.
Whatever's going on here today.
In that case, let us sit and drink now. For I am, in fact, expecting a guest later today. You are? Well, tell us all about your two visitors.
Mr. Sholmes, who were the two gentlemen that were here before?
Oh, just a pair of petty criminals. Nothing of significance. Of course, they have to make such a living somehow. And when the mood takes me, I'm willing to turn a blind eye to all manner of infractions.
When the mood takes you?
All manner of infractions? But When such fellows set their sights on Mr. Herlock Sholmes, well, that's when their luck runs out.
Oh my, you were the target of a crime, Mr. Sholmes.
But I quickly devised a plan to entrap them and deliver them to our young detective ally.
You should have asked Grexy to come too. We could have had an arresting tea party.
Ah, is he not in Paris by now? I did send word, but no answer was forthcoming. The man is consummately in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a word for it, I'm sure. Aha, I have it! A bungler. That's the word. It's a good job he's not here to hear you say that.
So those redheads have been up to no good? I wonder what the men did.
The greatest problem. What was that about the greatest of problems known to man that you mentioned before?
Is it another fiendishly intricate case, Mr. Sholmes?
How should I best explain it? Are you aware of the theory of evolution by natural selection, perchance?
Well, I think I've heard talk of it somewhere, possibly. It's a revolutionary scientific theory that was newly proposed 40 years ago now.
There we are, of course, it's in our book.
According to its author, Mr. Darwin, we humans were once apes who lived in the treetops.
Wait, what? We were apes? Indeed. And from the very moment those apes descended from the canopy to live as humans, it has been our lot to be at the mercy of the greatest problem known to man.
Our lot? What is this great problem, Mr. Sholmes?
Why is it not obvious, my dear madam? The problem of rent. We didn't have to pay rent on the treetops.
Of course not. But did you not receive a rather large sum of money from Madame Tuspels only the other day?
Pshaw, a large sum. 1 potted herb for Iris and a new motor car for me later. And all of it has quite disappeared, I assure you.
Your car was stolen? Honestly, Hurley, you know you squandered it.
Yes, well, anyway. 2 days ago, I discovered the answer to man's greatest problem. For the coming month, at least.
And what was the answer?
Why, there is a substantial clue before your very eyes.
Don't tell me. Let me see.
Humans are sorry creatures, unable to see what is in front of their noses. Except for your bright red hair, I suppose that's why you colored it that, huh? So you would notice. Let me give you some assistance. Don't look, but observe me very closely. There's one particular feature about my person that has changed. You should notice it in the end, I think.
In the end? It's been stabbing me in both eyes, right from the very beginning of our conversation. I think we might need another clue before we uncover the full answer, Mr. Naruhodo.
Thanks for the hint. I'll be tearing my hair out if this charade goes on any longer, or much longer.
The lie you told.
Mr. Sholmes, isn't it about time you told us the truth about why you lied about Cosma's death? Just over a week ago, you said to us, I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that.
Well, that case aboard the SS Borea in January, Cosmo wasn't killed, and you knew he wasn't dead at the time. So what was really going on?
It was a retcon. The fellow was unconscious for a very long time. If he hadn't regained consciousness when he did, his life would have been in mortal peril.
Huh?
Of course, a side effect of the prolonged comatose state was amnesia, as you now know. It was a simple enough task to silence the crew, but how? After they'd carried him out of the cabin, I assembled them in the lobby area. I put 2 people in prison, man.
That poor, the poor dancer, or the Russian woman, and the big burly sailor that was helping her cover it up, no?
Not this guy, but the other guy. Then I made them swear to leave him unconscious and have him unlaid from the ship in Hong Kong as a murdered corpse.
Oh, how horrible.
It was necessary to find some material with which to persuade the crewmen to keep their word, of course.
But why? Why do it in the first place?
I will be at liberty to elaborate in due course.
What do you mean, in due course? What has to happen for you to tell me the truth, huh?
But for the time being, I would like to reassure you. I didn't foresee subsequent events.
What events?
His disappearance in Hong Kong.
Oh.
I believe I may have made a gross error of judgment.
Mr. Sholmes, that's not the first time you've done that. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I guess I'm going to move to my legal consultancy. 1st November, Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Okay. What to do? It's good news that Professor Mikatoba arrived safely, isn't it? Yes, it's wonderful. And the fact that Father has been invited to this important international event really makes me very proud to be his daughter. Your father, Judge Jigoku, us, and Kazuma, of course. There's an ever-increasing number of Japanese here in Britain's capital, isn't there? Well, yes, I suppose so. But London does have a population of 6 million people, so I think we're still a minority. Susato-san's father, who came here as a visiting student 16 years ago, and Kazuma. It's almost as if some great power has been at work, drawing them here across the ocean to London. And I feel as though the waters are starting to swell again now. Well, thank you for telling me what to do. That clarified nothing.